Who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL today? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another BR Live, here to give you my top 10 NFL quarterbacks in the game today, right now. I actually ranked quarterbacks not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago. I ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. The list is similar, but different. A couple things have changed. A couple quarterbacks have moved out of the top 10. A couple quarterbacks have moved into the top 10. And I have new thoughts about each individual quarterback and how they're currently playing. So just to express how my top 10 quarterback list works, I am evaluating the quarterbacks based on their current form. And how I say this is, if I were a general manager in the NFL or a head coach in the NFL, and I needed to win a game this Sunday, how would I pick the best quarterbacks in football? Their current form. Not how they played last year, last playoffs, not how they played in 2022, not how they played 7 weeks ago. I'm talking about how these quarterbacks are playing right now and for the entirety so far of the 2024 NFL season. This is also not a projection of how I think everyone's going to play for the rest of the season. So if that sounds good, let me know in the comments your opinion on my list and my top 10 quarterbacks. A couple players that didn't make the list that I just want to give a quick shout out to that I considered but didn't make it. First of all, Jayden Daniels, rookie of the Washington Commanders, who was on the list on my first version. He was at number 10. I moved him off the list. I feel like he's definitely regressed. That's expected as a rookie quarterback. His statistical alignment, he's only 11th in yards passing, 20th in passing touchdowns. He does contribute heavily as a runner as well. But Daniels, in that rookie of the year discussion for sure, probably still going to win that award over somebody like Bo Nix or maybe even Brock Bowers. But he's hanging on by a thread right now. I really will say that, because he's on a little bit of a losing streak. He's played some better competition, some better defenses, and he's fallen off just a little bit. So I moved Jayden Daniels off the list in place of another NFC East quarterback. Brock Purdy is another player that's currently injured. I considered him for the list, but those were my number 11, number 12 quarterbacks on my list. At number 10, let's talk about that NFC East quarterback. Right now, the top guy in the NFC East is Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, currently, I didn't have him on my top 10 last time I ranked these quarterbacks. And I do feel the reason he's on the list now, obviously he's leading one of the best teams in the NFL. He's playing complementary football to his defense that's playing very strong, to Saquon Barkley, who's running the ball well. Jalen Hurts, it has been as good as anybody right now at avoiding negative plays. His ability to avoid sacks, to avoid bad throws, to avoid interception-worthy, turnover-worthy plays, I think is exceptional. And you look at him statistically, he's top 5 in completion percentage. He's top 5 in yards per attempt. He's 6th in passer rating. He's 4th in run grade, according to PFF, which is obviously a big area of his game. Now, as a passer, I think that he is somewhat limited at times. I think especially when it comes to being a pocket passer, throwing the ball in the middle of the field with precision, accuracy, touch, especially at the intermediate level of the field. I think he's an excellent downfield sideline passer. And I would say that he does struggle at times to kind of read defenses and go from progression to progression. Their passing game is pretty simplistic, and it's built on the ability to pass block for a long time, for Jalen Hurts to buy time, and for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to win their one-on-ones on the outside. And it's also built on the fact that they have a dominant running game. So it simplifies the coverages that Jalen Hurts is able to see. But Hurts' ability to keep his offense on task through a simple scramble or just an incompletion, to be able to backpedal and throw the ball away when nothing's there, his ability to create a big play down the field via explosive just throwing enough touch for A.J. Brown and converting in short yardage, converting in the red zone at a high level in the NFL right now. That's why I put him in my top 10. One area of concern for him is his time to throw, which is something that he always ranks very, very low at. His time to throw is actually the highest in the NFL, which is not an ideal statistic. And I feel like if Hurts were in other offenses behind other offensive lines, you would see this exposed more often for what it is. Not very good. Over 3 seconds per pass. That's not great, but he's able to get away with it because he does play in Philadelphia. So that's why he's at number 10. A lot of good things, but some things that hold him back from being a little bit higher on the list. Shout out to everybody in the chat right now. G Note, Dat Cam, YouTube. I am in the chat. Mahomes is amazing. Says 1, 2, 3. We got Bo Nix Flex in the chat. Bo Nix, unfortunately, not on the list, but Bo Nix has been impressing. I will say, as somebody that was not a Bo Nix guy, very much impressed with Bo Nix. Shout out to Penguin, Javon in the chat. Daniel Jones, top 10 quarterback. Absolutely a top 10 CFL quarterback. Now let's move to the number 9 quarterback on the list. We have Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford, since getting his receivers back, has been an absolute dog under center for the Rams. He's already one of the most clutch quarterbacks in football. He's simply one of the best passers of the football in the NFL. And there's not many quarterbacks you would want under center in a big game than Matthew Stafford. But since getting Nakua and Kupp back, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. He actually leads the NFL, or would lead the NFL, in yards per game with, if you just take the games, 6 games, a 6-game sample size of Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp. He's currently averaging 288 yards per game when those receivers are on the field, which would lead the NFL in yards per game. He's also put up 13 of his 15 passing touchdowns when Nakua and Kupp are on the field. Stafford has had to survive behind one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines for the entirety of the season. I don't really think that Sean McVay is kind of calling plays on all cylinders, in my opinion. I think Stafford has kept this Rams team afloat. It's not his best season of his career, but you certainly still watch him down to down, play for play, and he's definitely one of the elite passers in the NFL. His ability to throw the ball into a tight window is as good as ever. His ability to put power on the football, throw the ball deep, and also just be able to make quick decisions and know where to go with the ball very rapidly without great pass protection is excellent. I think even in some of the games where they had multiple, backup linemen, he did a great job of just kind of understanding, okay, I got to get rid of the ball really fast. I got to keep my offense on schedule. There's been a lot going on around him. The defense has been inconsistent, but Stafford, for the most part, has been really good. He's 6th in passing yards. He's 11th in success rate. He's actually 5th in completed air yards. He's not getting a lot of yards after catch from his offense either. And the weird thing about Stafford, he's actually scrambled less than anybody in the NFL. He only, according to PFF, has 1 scramble on the entire season, which is probably where he's most limited. He's in his later 30s at this point. He's not in his prime physically, but he's still an excellent player. And I think that's because he's still got that right arm. He's got a cannon, and he's still got pretty high IQ for a quarterback. So yeah, clutch Matthew Stafford still belongs in my top 10. He actually wasn't in my top 10 before because I didn't think his stats kind of replicated the production needed to be in a top 10 position. But I think now, since the last few weeks of how he's been playing, I think it's good enough to push him inside the top 10. So I've got Stafford at number 9. At number 8, we're going to look inside the NFC West once again. Currently, the quarterback that I feel is playing the best in the NFC West, that's Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray currently has a 16 touchdown to 4 interception pass touchdown to interception ratio. He also has 3 fourth-quarter comebacks, which is tied for the most in the NFL. He has 17 big-time throws to only 8 turnover-worthy plays. He ranks 7th in completion percentage. He has a Cardinals team that everyone expected to finish last in their division, first in their division, or at least tied for first in their division at 6-5. And without, without Kyler Murray, it wouldn't be possible. He ranks 10th in EPA and 10th in success rate. Kyler Murray is just such a dynamic football player. He is inconsistent at times in terms of passing the ball and having rhythm within his passing game. But when it comes to, arm strength, off-platform throws, creating out of structure, when it comes to running the football and just being somebody that you have to game plan for week after week in terms of preparing, how do we rush Kyler Murray? How do we keep him in the pocket? How do we not allow him to extend plays? How do we not allow the road runner to get outside and make crazy plays happen week after week after week? He's a part of the running game, and he's a part of a reason why that running game in Arizona is so dynamic. He's a big time touch passer down the field, anywhere in the red zone. And he's just one of those guys that if he's on his game, he can take over a game. And there's not many quarterbacks like that in the NFL. When Kyler Murray is at his best, he can go toe-to-toe with any other quarterback in football and win any game, no matter who his supporting cast is. Kyler Murray can elevate his offense and his team. So that's why I have Kyler Murray at number 8. I feel like he's played really well this season. I didn't think he played his best game against Seattle most recently, but he is affected by weather because his hands are a little small, things like that. But, he's an excellent player nonetheless. I will say, taking a gap before we get to number 7 here, the NFC West is a wild division because I think at times you would say, Brock Purdy could be the best quarterback in the division at times. I think Geno has been the best quarterback in the division at times. But Geno's also very erratic in terms of decision-making. His red zone production, he's throwing way too many interceptions. Thing about Geno Smith is Geno Smith will have like 80% of the game where he's wickedly accurate. He's on schedule. He's even buying time and scrambling. And then there's other plays where you're like, what are you doing, Geno? Or he just makes a dumb decision. He tries to throw the ball 30 yards downfield on 3rd and 2 when there's a guy wide open in the flat. Geno is a kind of a frustrating player. There's times where Stafford is obviously the best. But, right now this year, I would say on average, Kyler Murray has been the best quarterback in this division. We've got a lot of Sam Darnold comments. But, okay, some Goff comments. Tua at 7 would be blasphemous. Tua is not on the list. Tua is playing very well, though. He would be in my top 15 for sure. Other guys that are not on the list, Jordan Love, not on the list. And also anyone else brought up here, Sam Darnold, not on the list. Sam Darnold played excellent against the Bears, though. At number 7, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff has somewhat been in the MVP discussion, although never really taken seriously in that discussion. Jared Goff currently ranks 3rd in EPA, 2nd in completion percentage, 2nd in passer rating. He has 20 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, although a lot of those touchdowns were built up against some pretty bad teams recently. 9 yards per attempt, 8th in passing yards. And he's overall statistically very, very good. The best thing you can say about Goff is he's the excellent executor of the Detroit offense. Goff is excellent off play action. He's one of the best play action quarterbacks in football. He's excellent at avoiding negative plays. He's excellent at keeping the offense on schedule. He's excellent at staying in rhythm inside the pocket, moving from 1 to 2 to 3 and finding his target and going to the right spot with the ball. He's mostly very accurate. He throws a powerful intermediate pass. I don't think he's the best downfield thrower in the league. I don't think that he is obviously the most mobile quarterback or the most dangerous outside of structure. He's actually pretty irrelevant outside of structure. He never makes plays outside of structure. So Goff is interesting because I view him as one of those players that he is a good quarterback that is, as some people would describe, a system quarterback in some ways. I think he elevates the system in Detroit because I think that he is so quick. His decision-making is very fast. And I think for the most part, he has an above average arm and he has above average accuracy. So that's where I would say Goff, he's ascending the system. He's beyond the system to some degree, but where he is masked and his deficiencies are masked are the offensive line, right? Goff has always been a guy that when he gets people around him and when he's panicked, he rushes his process and he becomes extremely, out of his mind, kind of wild. Okay. The offensive line in Detroit's the best in football. That definitely helps him a ton. The play calling in Detroit definitely helps him a ton. His production is awesome. When you look at some deeper numbers, like big time throws, he only surprisingly has 9 in the NFL. These are categorized as downfield tight window throws. He only has 9 compared to 13 turnover worthy plays. These are PFF metrics. And he also ranks second in yards after catch in his offense. So he is aided by a great scheme. And he's also, aided by some playmakers that can create with the ball in their hands. But that being said, I think Goff does a great job of taking what Detroit gives him and maximizing what Detroit is giving him, what Ben Johnson and these playmakers are giving him to be had. So yeah, Jared Goff, very good player. I don't think he's quite elite though, in my opinion. At number 6, we're going to go with Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and I would argue he's the most underrated quarterback in football right now. Currently ranked second in total touchdowns. He's top 8 in EPA and top 5 in success rate. He also, just like Jared Goff, though, benefits from a system that is yards after catch heavy. Baker actually leads the NFL in YAC. That being said, I think Baker is better in terms of scrambling, his ability outside of structure, escaping sacks and pressure, I think is better than Jared Goff. I do think that Goff overall is a better decision maker, but Baker has just shocked me with how much he's been able to go through, right? Like this year, Mike Evans goes down for multiple games. Chris Godwin is gone. He's still able to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, go to overtime with the Chiefs, play with Patrick Mahomes. He has a terrible defense 99% of the year, and Baker Mayfield is still out there, and he's slinging the football, and he's putting up great stats. And you watch those plays against San Francisco where he's stiff-arming Nick Bosa and he makes a throw down the field. You watch the scramble against Detroit for a touchdown in a win against Detroit. The only quarterback to beat the Lions is Baker Mayfield this season. I mean, Baker Mayfield is he's really good. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves because he was kind of categorized as a bust, but I don't really think that's fair, just because the teams like Cleveland made the wrong decision. They didn't draft Josh Allen or they didn't draft Lamar Jackson. That was their fault. You know what I mean? Like Baker is still very, very good. I think he's an excellent leader. I think he's one of the best leaders, one of the most charismatic quarterbacks in football. I think he makes players around him better. And so, yeah, I think he's good in any offense too. You see him in drop back pass. He's been excellent this year. You see him in the screen game, the quick game. He's been excellent this year. You see him in play action heavy systems, including this one in Tampa Bay or the one in Cleveland. He's been very effective in all of these different areas. So yeah, Baker is just a little bit better than everyone gives him credit for, physically, mentally, and as a leader. Baker Mayfield has been awesome. I think that he is super slept on as one of the best quarterbacks in the league this season. Defend the Bay says Bake is heavily underrated. Bo Nix is the next top 5 quarterback, says Bo Lever. I wonder where he got that one from. Adams ranking Josh Allen, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, and John Elway all time. I think you've got Tom Brady a little low out, Adam, but I'll let it pass. Bryce Young. Yes, Bryce Young. He's playing good, man. Bryce Young maybe had the best game I've ever seen him play against the Chiefs. I'm not going to lie. I thought that might have been the best game of his career. I'm not even going to lie about that one. Let's get to the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. At number 5, Patrick Mahomes. Now, remember, this is based on 2024, not their career resume, okay? Patrick Mahomes has had a little bit of a shaky 2024 NFL season. I think he's actually coming off statistically what would be categorized as maybe his best game of the season against probably the worst defense he has played all year, the Carolina Panthers. But I do think Mahomes has been playing a little bit better lately. I will say he does lead the NFL in passing first downs, which is not too surprising considering that the Chiefs offense is not explosive at all. It's probably the least explosive offense in the NFL. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration. They're such a manufactured 3 yards, 4 yards, 7 yards, 10 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. That's their offense. It's like absolutely excruciating, but it is success, success, the success rate of their offense is very, very high. The consistency of their offense is very high. And where Mahomes stands out to me this season is his third down play and his scrambling ability. I think the clutch factor, the fourth quarter, the end of the game, he did it again against Carolina, right? Mahomes has always had that in his veins, right? He's the only guy, that even can be in the same sentence as Tom Brady in terms of clutch factor. And I think that's shined through this season, even in a down year for him personally. Some of the stats that show him down a little bit, obviously touchdowns to interceptions. He's been throwing the ball to the other team way too frequently this season. Big time throws to turnover worthy plays. He has 11 big time throws, 11 turnover worthy plays. That's not exactly a great ratio. He actually leads the NFL in throwaways. So he's been very, 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 very conservative with the ball, which is good at times. Like, you want to be conservative in terms of let's not give the ball. But the weird thing about that is he leads the NFL in throwaways, but he also has a ton of interceptions. Like, he's near the top of the league in interceptions. And the other area that I think Mahomes doesn't get criticized enough for is he takes on pressure more than any other quarterback in football. Like, he does it to himself. He actually ranks higher than a guy like Caleb Williams in this category. He's second in the NFL in quarterbacks that create their own pressure, running into pressure. Okay. That is where I think he's maybe a little bit overrated, where the offensive line isn't good. And Mahomes constantly running into the pressure all the time, but he does rank 6th in success rate, 11th in EPA. The offense also, I think the good thing about Mahomes is he's almost being limited by the support staff around him, because we know he's got one of the best arms in football. He's got one of the best deep balls in football. He's being limited by what's around him. I mean, they don't have deep threats. Worthy has not really worked out this year. They're a heavy yak offense. So a lot of their offense is screens. A lot of their offense is swing passes, kind of plays that are kind of morphed into blockers in front. We're going to throw a swing pass to the running back. Like, we're going to get people out in space, quick throws, RPOs, things like that. So they're heavy in yards after catch. But the disappointing part about the Chiefs in watching them is that they don't allow Mahomes to be more of an explosive passer, because they really don't have that receiver on the depth chart that allows them to do that. It's very much an annoying fault of the Chiefs offense. So at number 5, I have Patrick Mahomes. Ski says, Mitch, you're not very smart. Not a good list. Can you explain where I'm off or I'm wrong about the list? You can disagree with my list, but I'd like to hear you explain why I'm wrong. I'm giving you the reasons behind why I feel this way. If you think my list is wrong, please explain why. All right, let's get to the top 4, which honestly, I think this top 4 is pretty darn obvious. I'm not going to lie. I think at number 4, it is Justin Herbert, who plays tonight on Monday Night Football. Justin Herbert has the ultimate blend of explosive pocket passer and great decision maker. He's tied for first in big time throw percentage. Again, that stat is talking about tight window downfield passes. And he's also first in interception percentage. He's not throwing the ball into coverage or heavy coverage. He's not turning the ball over. And he's also making explosive passes. On top of that, Herbert is grading as the best quarterback when kept clean in the NFL, which speaks to his mechanics, his accuracy, his timing. Justin Herbert, despite having a no-name receiving core, his best receiver is Ladd McConkey, a second-round pick out of this NFL draft, who's a slot receiver. Herbert ranks as the best quarterback when kept clean with 15 big-time throws and only 3 turnover-worthy plays, the number 1 grade among all quarterbacks when kept clean. So Justin Herbert is an absolute machine of a passer. That first half he had against the Bengals last week was one of the best halves of the entire season, if not the best half I've seen. Just his ability to constantly put the ball where it needs to go, constantly go to the right person, but put it in a spot where only the receiver can catch it. This is an example of you don't need to be a guy that's constantly getting around pressure, escaping, buying time, running around in circles and throwing off platform to go above and beyond the offense. What Herbert is an example of is what the quarterbacks, from the past generation, like Brady, like Manning, like Breeze, these guys that would put the ball in a spot or elevate the offense based on their precision, their accuracy, their timing, their throw, their arm strength, right? The ability to throw into tight windows. That's what Herbert brings. Now, is he scrambling a little bit more than he has been? Yes, he has more confidence in that regard. But Herbert as a pure passer might be the best in the NFL right now, currently playing. So at number 4, I have Justin Herbert. Tomato says Jalen Hurts should not be 10 and include Jaden Daniels. So yeah, I basically swapped out Jalen Hurts for Jaden Daniels. That's exactly how it went, bro. So Jaden Daniels, I feel like, is playing a little bit weaker as of late. He's played some better defenses. He was thriving based on playing some pretty bad opponents, at the beginning of the year. If you look at the schedule, he's playing the worst defenses in football and building up his resume. And then, he played against some better teams and his stats have kind of regressed and his play has regressed. And I think his turnovers have gone up. And overall, I think when you watch Jaden too, it's not like a lot of his stats are not also a little bit, based on the quick passing game, the screens, the RPOs, things like that Jaden Daniels, I think like against the Eagles, he had like 16 out of 23 completions that were like behind the line of scrimmage or within 5 yards or something like that. So yeah, like Hurts, he's on a great team. Daniels has been in a system that's really helped him as well statistically. I think Hurts has played better as of late. I think Hurts has made less mistakes. I think Hurts is still a dynamic rusher. So I decided to move those two up and down the list a little bit. All right. Let's go to number 3. So entering the top 3. At number 3, I've got Joe Burrow. If Herbert's not the best pure passer in football, it's got to be Joe Burrow, right? Burrow leads the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns, actually also total touchdowns, a 27 touchdown to 4 interception ratio, which is absurd. He also has the most yards and touchdowns under pressure this season. So Burrow constantly playing under duress, constantly playing behind an offensive line that is not very good. And unlike somebody like Patrick Mahomes, he's not creating his own pressure. He's not manufacturing or running into pressure as frequently as Patrick Mahomes. Burrow is actually having to manipulate the pocket, step away from pressure, step up from pressure, and make a key pass. And what I love about Burrow and I appreciate about Burrow, he combines a great sense for playing with rhythm, but then on top of that, accuracy. And on top of that, he just has a gamer nature that not many players of his archetype have. I feel like Burrow is kind of categorized as this pocket passer, but he's really more of a gamer. I think he has more in common with somebody like Baker Mayfield than I think people give him credit for. Just like in terms of these two guys, like trying to make something out of nothing and then going, but Burrow's a better player. But just in terms of like, okay, I'm under pressure. I got to make something happen. Just somehow making something happen, stepping away from pressure, stepping up, finding Chase on the crossing route. Chase creates something after the catch, right? Like escaping a sack somehow. A guy that shouldn't look like, he's not built like Cam Newton. He shouldn't be escaping this sack. Somehow he does a spinorama. He turns around and he turns it into a first down, right? So Joe Burrow just has a clutch gene. And this has not resulted in wins for him this year, which is crazy because he's playing as good as any quarterback I've ever watched that is not winning games. It's actually crazy. I don't recall a quarterback that's played this well through 12 games of an NFL season that has a losing record. I don't remember a quarterback that's led the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns who has a losing record. So I think the Bengals are going to start to win some games. Yes, he has great weapons around him, but the offensive line also isn't very good. And the defense is utter baloney, okay? It's terrible. It's awful. It's no good. So Joe Burrow is having to carry this team. His kicker misses kicks. His defense can't stop a nosebleed. It's not really his fault, at the end of the day. So at number 3, I've got Joe Burrow. He's an amazing passer and also just an absolute gamer. We had some comments, I think, about Kyler Murray. Jam says Kyler should not be on the list. I'm sorry, Geno and Darnold are the same rank. I don't agree. I don't think if you put Sam Darnold in Arizona, they would have the same record. Kyler Murray, he's not turning the ball over like Sam Darnold. He's not taking sacks like Sam Darnold. He's a more dynamic athlete than Sam Darnold. He's a more dynamic athlete than Geno Smith. I think Geno has struggled a little bit with sacks, struggled a little bit with pressure. You know, you look at Kyler, he's had the most fourth quarter comebacks. You look at Kyler, he's only thrown 4 interceptions. He has 16 touchdowns. He's top 10 success rate in EPA. You can't say that about Geno Smith. You can't say that about Sam Darnold. So Darnold has Justin Jefferson. Darnold has Addison. Darnold has Hawkinson. Darnold has Kevin O'Connell. Darnold has a top 5 defense. Kyler Murray's got, you know, roster-wise, a bottom 5 defense in the league. He's got an injured offensive line. I mean, come on. I think Kyler is taking this team and putting it on his back for the most part this season. I think they've ran the ball well. I will say that as well. Shout out to Jordy. He thinks I'm Josh McCown. What else we got here? Dan Feltz and Dan Marino were great quarterbacks on badly coached and or badly put together teams. The crazy thing about that, man, both had historic numbers, no doubt, great Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I still don't understand for the life of me how Don Shula was coaching Dan Marino for most of his career, and they still didn't really, you know, do much with that. But, you know, Dan Marino, one of the greatest of all time. I think Herbert should be higher, and/or you're probably right. I put Herbert at 4 because I think for the first start of the season, he wasn't playing amazing. I thought that they were playing good defense. They were running the ball. He didn't really have to do a ton. He just didn't make mistakes. So the last like 4 or 5 weeks, I think you could put Herbert inside the top 3, and I wouldn't hate it at all. I just think overall consistently, I put him at 4, if that makes sense. I think the beginning of the year wasn't phenomenal. Jaden Daniels, I think I kind of explained Jaden Daniels. So the reason he's not on the list, I mean, so I think his recent production has not been very good. You look at him statistically, 11th in yards, 20th in passing touchdowns. I mean, those don't scream off the page. I think there's a difference between, you know, evaluating a quarterback who's a rookie and evaluating a quarterback overall. So Daniels, they're 7-5. Like, a lot of his production to me is coming off of quick passes or he's running. And I just don't think he's played that well as of late. I took him off the list. Like, I had him at number 10, and he lost to the Dallas Cowboys practice squad, and he was playing awful for like an entire half. He took 4 sacks in that game. He didn't play well against the Eagles. He didn't play well against the Steelers. I thought he played okay against the Giants. Honestly, like the Bears game, he had a 55 completion percentage. He didn't play well until the Hail Mary. Like, I really don't think that Jaden Daniels has played that well since maybe even the Baltimore game. Like, they lost that game too. Like, you really look at his recent success. I thought he was really good at the beginning of the year. But beyond that, I don't know, man. I don't think Jaden Daniels has been playing at a top 10 level recently. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. At number 2, we have Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is my number 2. And I think debatably, he's the MVP of the NFL right now. You could at least throw him in that conversation. He was maybe at one point a week or two ago. Lamar leads the NFL still in passer rating. He is 3rd in passing yards, and he's 2nd in passing touchdowns. He's also 2nd in total touchdowns, and he's 1st in EPA. He has 13 big-time throws to 5 turnover-worthy plays. Not a ton of big-time tight window throws, but he does lead the NFL with only 5 turnover-worthy plays. So he's protecting the ball, and he's been extremely efficient throwing the football. Now, I think a huge reason for Lamar's success as a passer is what he brings as a rusher. So I think this is partly because, you know, Lamar is such a dynamic rusher. Derrick Henry is such a monster. Their run game is so good that it allows so many easy throws for Lamar. And that's why I feel like his stats, his passing numbers are so efficient. That's why he has so many explosive passing plays. That's why his yards per attempt is so high. Because when they hit these play action passes, when they hit these shot plays, they're wide open. I mean, I can recall the Tampa Bay game where guys are just running wide open. Denver, wide open. Why? Because everyone's at the line of scrimmage. Everyone's selling out. We got to stop Derrick Henry. We got to stop the read option to Lamar Jackson. All of a sudden, you see Zay Flowers flying across the screen, wide open. He makes something happen. beats two people, he scores a touchdown. It will be intriguing to see how the Chargers play him as a team that primarily plays too deep, doesn't really like to resort to stopping the run. So it's kind of a pick your poison with the Ravens offense. If you let Lamar, and Derrick Henry run the ball, you're gonna lose to a slow death. If you let Lamar throw the ball, or you kind of force the issue to make him throw the ball because you've got numbers in the box, then you're going to get torched over the top for explosives, because Lamar, it's hard to blitz him at times. Sometimes you can get him against the blitz because sometimes he holds on the ball and he makes a bad decision. We saw that even in the playoff game against the Chiefs. But, sometimes you can blitz him, but sometimes you can't. Like the Bucs tried to blitz him. They took the wrong angle. He escapes it. He finds Rashad Bateman for a touchdown. Like if you don't take the right angle, if you don't contain Lamar, he's going to get outside structure. He's going to make a play that beats you. He's got a quick release. He's accurate in the middle of the field. He's one of the best middle of the field passers in football. And it's been that way since he's entered the NFL. Lamar has always been underrated as a passer, in my opinion. But the thing about Lamar is that he has a better offensive scheme now, a better offensive coordinator now than he's ever had for his system, for his skills, right? His skills matching the system. Then you've got a better receiving core than he's ever had. Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, even Justice Hill coming out of the backfield, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, hopefully Deontay Johnson can work out as well down the stretch. But Lamar is awesome. Lamar is a game breaker. Lamar is the best runner, in my opinion, still in the NFL. And I actually think he's a better runner right now than he was last year. He looks quicker. He looks twitchier. He looks faster. He looks more explosive. And he's right there among the best quarterbacks in the sport. So Lamar Jackson, amazing player. The great 8 is at number 2. At number 1, I have none other than Superman himself, Josh Allen, number 17 of the Buffalo Bills. The Mafia will like this one. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league. I haven't changed my stance on that. If I wasn't going to rank Lamar ahead of Allen before, I probably wasn't going to do it now after he beat the Chiefs pretty decisively in a game where on 4th and 2, they put the ball in Josh Allen's hands and he broke not 1, not 2, not 3 tackles for a touchdown. Josh Allen leads the NFL with the most big-time throws by 4 big-time throws. He is also tied for first in percentage alongside Justin Herbert. He's first in the NFL in PFF rushing grade as well. He's second in pressure to sack percentage. This is the core and the overall vision of Josh Allen. And all these stats replicate what Josh Allen is on the field. Okay? Josh Allen is a big-time explosive passer that, unlike any other quarterback, is able to make more wow throws on a consistent basis than any other player in football. He also is able to escape sacks at a higher percentage than any other player. So that means he avoids negatives and he makes his offensive line better than it is because he just can't get sacked. He's too big. He's too athletic. He's too fast. He can't be sacked. And then on top of that, he's an explosive passer and he's an explosive rusher. So he's first in rush grade, he's first in big time throws, and he's second in pressure to sack percentage. He has 23 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. So all these complaints about how Josh Allen, he turns it over. He's a turnover machine. He throws it to the other team. That hasn't been happening this year, right? He only has 5 interceptions. He's also second in EPA. So Josh Allen is just, I think you could put him in any offense with any supporting cast and he would take that team to the playoffs. The way that he's playing right now, it's hard to stop him. He can run, he can throw, he can, he can run the ball in the red zone. He's the best quarterback in the league. You can't stop the Bills in the red zone because he's rather going to beat you by the design of the offense. He's going to extend and throw. He's going to extend and run, or they can run a designed power run, almost like 2015 Cam Newton, and just QB power you down your throat for a touchdown. It's really impossible to stop the Buffalo Bills within 5 to 10 yards of the end zone, right? So he's the best red zone quarterback. He's the most explosive quarterback. And I think he's the most well-rounded weapon of a quarterback in football, which is why I call him Superman Josh Allen. The Bills are probably the favorites in the AFC right now. And, Lamar Jackson trying to catch him, Patrick Mahomes trying to catch him. We'll see if they're able to. The Lions got Jared Goff on the list. Jalen Hurts made my list this time. I think those are the favorites in the NFL. I think they're all I think they all deserve to be on this list. So just to recap my top 10. At number 10, newly to the list, newly added, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 9, the great Matthew Stafford, future Hall of Famer. At number 8, Kyler, the Roadrunner Murray. At number 7, the excellent executor, Jared Goff. At number 6, Baker Mayfield. Baker, the commercial maker, baby. At number 5, Patrick Mahomes boy. At number 4, Justin Herbert, the best pure passer in the sport. At number 3, Joe Shiesty. At number 2, the great 8, Lamar Jackson. At number 1, Superman. There it is. Your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's look at the chat before we get lost. What do we got here? Lamar has more touchdowns, less interceptions. Buddy, please. Okay. Lamar lost to the Chiefs. No, I think I described it pretty well. I think that element of the explosive passing and the explosive rushing is what does it for me for Josh. On top of, does he have Derrick Henry behind him? I don't think so. You know, the Ravens have 2 MVP candidates. The Bills only have 1. People thought the Bills were going to be no good this year. All right. I just proved it, Eric. This guy says, I have no stats. What are you talking about? I just proved it. What do you do? Are you deaf, bro? Jordan Love is number 1. Jordan Love is number 1 at being the most inconsistent quarterback in the NFL. One week he's Brett Favre. The next week he's Matt Flynn. Adam says Josh Allen is clearly better. Lamar has been good this season, but lost 4 games this season. 4 of those games he played bad. I don't know if all the games he played bad, but he definitely has lost more games than I would have thought. Jet says he's the only one in that 5 that's won championships. You talking about Mahomes? I think it's pretty obvious based on individual play that Mahomes has not been the best quarterback in the league. I think majority of the season they have been winning because of the refs, but also because of defense. How is Burrow 3 with that record? Leads the NFL in passing yards, leads the NFL in passing touchdowns, leads the NFL in most yards and touchdowns under pressure. 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He doesn't play defense. Herbert is better than Burrow. Prove me wrong. I honestly, that's cool. I don't disagree. Honestly, like I think it's pretty close. I think the way I see it is, I think 1 and 2 are in their own tier right now. I think 3 and 4 are in their own tier. I think Mahomes is in a tier by himself at 5. I think Baker, I kind of have Baker separated as well, kind of in his own tier. Then I've got, this is just how my mind is working or my brain is working right now. Then I've got Goff, Kyler, Stafford kind of in the same tier as well. And then Hurts, Daniels, and Purdy are kind of in their own tier. So I put Hurts in, Purdy and Daniels were out. And then beyond that, quarterbacks that didn't make the list, you know, like 13 through 15, I think you could throw, like, you could have a debate among a lot of different players, honestly. Like, so one week it will be Geno. One week it will be Tua. One week it could be Darnold. One week, the way he's playing. One week it could be who else? Bo Nix is playing good right now. Like, even Drake May has shown flashes of top 15 quarterback play. There's a lot of guys. Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of guys that you could put in kind of that like 13 through 20 range, honestly. But that's it for me. How is Tua not top 10? I'll answer this and then I'll go. He hasn't played the whole season, so that's part of it. And then secondly, I think he's been good. But I think a lot of the offense so far this year has been very like quick passing oriented. Like there's a lot of plays where he's just kind of like snap and throw. Like he's throwing it to Jonnu. He's throwing, they're throwing it to A-Shane in the flat. Like I don't think he's making as many big throws down the field as he did last year, like to Tyreek and to Waddle and things like that. He got a little bit into that bag against the Patriots. but I want to kind of see more of that too. But yeah, I think Tua's a weird one because I think he's one of those quarterbacks that he's in the perfect situation for his skill set, but his skill set is the perfect skill set for what McDaniel's trying to do with that offense at the same time. That's why you see a drop off when he's not there. It would help if they didn't constantly sign street free agents to be backups, but Tua is a weird case because I feel like you put him on Cincinnati, he's probably not looking as good, as he does on Miami, considering even if the weapons are both great in both situations, just because the offenses are so different, right? So that's kind of just how I see Tua. But that is my top 10 ranking for the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's Mitch. The Bottom Line View on YouTube is where you can find me. Don't forget to follow me here on the BR app for future streams. I'm here at least once a week, so make sure to follow me for future streams. I'm sure I'll be ranking quarterbacks at some point later in the season. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.